Hello, everybody. Welcome back to My Left Eye. Court has ruled that Donald Trump cannot run for president in Colorado because of his actions ahead of the January 6th riot. So, in this BBC article, I'm going to run through what this means for the general election coming up. The ruling says that Mr. Trump was ineligible as a candidate in the state's Republican primary contest because part of the United States Constitution disqualifies people who engage in insurrection. Trump said he will appeal to the US Supreme Court to overturn the decision, setting up a court battle that could reshape the 2024 election race. The former president is favourite to become the Republican pick in November's election, where he's expected to face Democrat President Joe Biden. So why did Colorado Supreme Court make this ruling? It said it found, quote, clear and convincing evidence that President Trump engaged in insurrection, end quote. Also goes on to say Section 3 disqualifies from federal office people who engage in insurrection or rebellion against the Constitution. Says above, the majority of the court holds that Trump is disqualified from holding the office of president under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It dates from the post-Civil War era and was an attempt to stop people who supported southern states leaving the Union from returning to government posts. So it's very old legislation. The article says that this is the first time Section 3 has been used to disqualify a presidential candidate. It was a split ruling, 4-3, meaning that 3 judges on the court believe there's no legal basis to exclude Mr. Trump from the ballot. So the lengthy 213-page ruling said Mr. Trump's actions in the build-up to January 6 did constitute insurrection. His lawyers had argued in Colorado that he should not be disqualified because he did not bear responsibility for the riot, but that was just a few years ago. It's still fresh in our memories. We all remember those stories as they were coming out, where Trump was riling up the crowd on Capitol Hill before they stormed the Capitol building to try and stop the confirmation of the previous election results. And it goes on to ask, can Donald Trump still stand in the 2024 election? Unfortunately, the answer is yes. The ruling only applies to Colorado, so it leaves Trump still able to run in other Republican primaries. The state-by-state search by each party for a presidential nominee says he's far ahead of his Republican rivals, so can still win his party's nomination without competing in Colorado. And Joe Biden won Colorado against Trump in 2020, it says, by a wide margin, and it's unlikely that Mr. Trump will need to win the state to win the election. However, there could be wider implications for the general election. Dozens of other US states have similar lawsuits trying to bar Trump from running, and his decision could make it more likely some of them succeed. If he was stopped from running in a state where he and Biden are neck and neck, that could be critical in a presidential race expected to be closely fought. So what happens next? It says the Trump campaign's already said it will appeal to the US Supreme Court. That's the highest court in the US. It will decide whether to take up the case in the new year, but it's not clear when. As long as his team has appealed by 4th of January, Trump's name will remain on the ballot in Colorado until the Supreme Court makes its ruling. The justices will have to consider the legal arguments, which will take time, but they'll be under pressure to decide before the primary on the 5th of March. To add to the immense scrutiny on what the Supreme Court decides, the ruling could apply nationally and have an impact on lawsuits elsewhere. So this could be a breakthrough case, as it were, with other states potentially being able to bar Trump from running there. So this still could have an impact on the election, even though Colorado itself isn't really a seat that is essential, that would be essential to Trump's campaign. So I'll just scroll a little further down the article on what the political impact could be. So his campaign says the ruling is another example of the justice system being used to persecute their candidate. Spokesman Stephen Chung said voters in Colorado were being denied the right to pick the candidate they want to represent them. Even some of Trump's political opponents have described the ruling as undemocratic. There's a quote here from Republican Chris Christie, who's a fierce critic running against him, says, "I think he should be prevented from being the President of the United States by the voters of this country." Trump's faced a litany of legal challenges since leaving office in 2021, including several criminal indictments. They've done nothing to diminish his popularity, and in fact seem to have energised his supporters and tightened his grip on the Republican race. But that's just the kind of politician that Trump is. He's a populist politician. He's a figurehead, and his followers tend to think that he should be allowed to do whatever he wants and that the law shouldn't try to intercede with any of his actions. However, the rules on candidacy are what they are. He's obviously got a hardcore group of supporters who would back him no matter what, unfortunately. So that's just about all that's in the article. Let us know what you think about the ruling, whether it's democratic or undemocratic. I would argue that if someone has clearly shown that they should be ineligible to stand in an election, then that's the case. There have obviously been several indictments since he left office. Some of those have even concerned his possession of classified documents, classified material, which has been discovered in his house. These are documents that he really shouldn't have in his private possession as a matter of national security. I'd imagine, there's only certain places where classified documents are allowed, and that's just one example of the indictments that have been made against him. Also, he's found himself in court accused of hyping up and overestimating the value of his businesses and his personal worth as well. So he's under scrutiny for trying to cook the books, make himself appear that he is a lot more wealthy than he actually is. So that's that story. Please do drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about that. Let us know if you think that Trump, whether he should or shouldn't be running in this next electoral race in 2024. Or if you've got any other comments about the story itself, please do share that with us. So that's the latest on that story for now. And until next time, take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.